everybody keeps on telling me there are not enough women because, they don't have meritocracy. And I'm saying, yeah, I get it. What about equal opportunity? Meritocracy will come when there is equal opportunity. Then I will listen to your argument on meritocracy and talent.
Welcome to another episode of the peopleHum interview series. I'm your host Sumita Mariam, and let's begin with a quick introduction of peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Codie Award for HCM that is specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and video channel, which receives upwards of 200,000 visitors a year, and publish around 2 interviews with well-known names globally every month. And now for our guest, Poonam Barua is the CEO of the Forum for Women in Leadership. She's the author of the pioneering book, Leadership by Proxy, The Story of Women in Corporate India. She's co-founder of Rise and Lead Women Summit at The Hague, Netherlands, and on the advisory board of Global Women Connect, Hong Kong. She's also on the governing board of the Distinguished Vedika Scholars Program for Women in India, and has received several awards, including the Inspirational Achievers 2015, Global and Emerging Leaders in New York. We are extremely happy and honored to have her on our interview series today. Welcome, Poonam. We're so thrilled to have you.
Most excellent, Sumita. Most delighted to be at peopleHum.
It's our pleasure. So, moving on to the interview, the first question I have for you. Let's start a little bit about yourself. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey that, brought you to the Will Forum India?
Well, first of all, I have to compliment you for inviting an economist like me to speak to peopleHum, which is extremely rare. Everybody thinks I'm an HR person, which I'm not. And that is one of the reasons I need to define the meaning of HR and what exactly does HR mean. So you can see by the way I'm speaking that I don't think anything is a journey. Life is not a journey. Life has got a purpose. We are all here with a purpose. The use of words and the use of how you articulate the words are critically important to how you will deliver. So my own submission to everyone usually is to say, this is the purpose of my life. These are my goals. These are my targets, which come under the purpose. And then there is a higher purpose. Okay, so there is no such thing as journey. The purpose I've always had in my life was to excel. Whatever I do, I have to be a master. If I don't do it, let it go. It's just not worth your time. So I was always excelling in my school, in my, college, doing well in my studies, founding of the debating society when I was in Miranda House, used to go to all the debates. And then when I started working as a professor in the university teaching economics, the point was always to excel and be the best in class. Excel meaning best in class. And I was amazed to see that there were all boys in my class in BCom and economics. I actually did not have a single woman in my class. I let it go. And then I found that when I went to the United States Information Service, which was, I spent 10 years there, whenever I would go to the universities, I would always find that the men were the professors and the women were just the staffers. No problem. But these are the kind of stimuli I am getting as I am trying to excel myself. And then when I started doing work on SAFTA, the South Asian Free Trade Area, more and more I found that every time I went to speak, because of the volume of work I have done on South Asian free trade, everybody would say, okay, the delegates on this side, and I had to say, no, I'm the speaker. I had to say I'm the speaker for people to understand that I belong in another category. Otherwise, they always think I was part of the audience. And then when I joined other, chambers of commerce, again, the stage was always full of men. And I would think, when am I ever going to have a chance to say something? In spite of all the volume of work that I do, when is somebody going to invite me to speak? And then I found, when I became the regional director of the Conference Board of New York, every single time there was an annual program, all the major seats were occupied by men in front. I'm not talking about the few women because it doesn't matter. Now, the question that I had to myself was, there is no morality in this. There is no noble cause. As an economist, I find it suboptimal. I find it not sustainable. I find it lacking in profitability. I find it lacking in wealth creation. I find it a problem for the whole planet to be working at a suboptimal level. And I realized that this is a game and we can't play it, no matter how good you are. It's time to change the game. My job is to change the game. My job is to redefine leadership. That is why I founded the Will Forum, because so far, leadership institutionally has been defined by the men. Every single book on leadership is written by men. Hard to find a book written by a woman on leadership. Not sustainable, not acceptable. Have to start a forum for women in leadership. Have to change the nature of the game because it's not sustainable. That then became the higher purpose. So then there is a purpose, and then there is a higher purpose. There is no journey here. This is a job and it's going to be finished.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a great perspective. I mean, looking at things like this is my purpose and there's this higher purpose, and I just make my way through it. That's wonderful. And why do you think there are lesser roles or lesser chances for women to be leaders? Do you think that trend is slowly disappearing these days?
There is no question of the trend disappearing. Neither is the trend changing, and neither is the gap becoming less. All these figures that are being thrown at us are called marginal. The marginal change is too little. Can't wait for another 100 years. So, this whole business of we're seeing the change is not enough for people like me. I think we're already too late. Not because I like women, but because it's not sustainable. It's bad economics. It's bad for business. It's bad for stakeholders. It's bad for the markets. It's bad for the customers. That the leadership style of women is not being embedded in the workplace. This is why I think that it's too slow. Not because I want to give a value judgment. I have a rational reason for saying it's too slow because the amount of wealth and innovation we can create is being stifled by having balanced leadership. So, why are there lesser opportunities for women? It's a very simple answer. Nobody needs to dissect this any further. People just do not think women are capable enough. Now, whichever way you want to say it, say it. They don't think the women are good at finance. They don't think we're good at capability. They don't think we're good at information technology. They just don't think we're capable. Like I said, say it in any way you want. The bottom line is that it's called a bias. And it's not unconscious. It's a very conscious bias that is underlining the lack of appreciation of the capability of women.
Yeah.
I'm saying it in as clear and articulate words as I can, with giving it solid meaning.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, when you relate it to the losses that we are having when women are not given a chance, that is too much. So that makes a lot of sense. And given this time of the pandemic, we read a lot about women leaders doing better in terms of like countries like New Zealand and Germany. I mean, even Barack Obama mentioned that women make better leaders, and the Harvard Business Review study confirmed it. So, what qualities do you believe make women better leaders?
All of these people are already too late, including President Barack Obama and whoever are saying that the women are good. They're already too late. I wrote this research report in 2013, and it was called The Differentiating Style of Women in Leadership. I've written 15 research reports. I have no authority to speak until I know exactly what I'm saying. So I wrote this in 2013. So everybody else who's saying it is already late as far as I'm concerned. In that differentiating style, I mentioned that the key things that women are good at are rational thinking. Number one, we are capable of rational thinking. Somehow they don't think rational thinking is a key aspect of leadership. I want to know which book has mentioned rational thinking as a key element of leadership. It's critical. Two, resilience. Okay, key leadership requirement is resilience. Now you can call it adaptability, agility, you use as you want. You can bring out new words and put your fashion buttons on it. It's called resilience. Okay, we have the capability to bounce back. It's a capability to bounce back. We have it. And the third thing that, so there's rationality, which I think women are much better at. We don't have the cowboy instinct of get up, and take all the risks you want. Two, we have resilience. And the third most important thing in the differentiating style of women in leadership is something that I call public spiritedness. Nobody puts it on their leadership dashboard. No book. You got to have public spiritedness. You got to care about the community. We have it built in us. 99% of women will have public spiritedness because our DNA is of motherhood. There's nothing we can do about it. We can wish it away, but it will stay with us. So we have this big thing of embracing everybody. All right. I want to know why these three key elements of leadership are not mentioned in the dashboard right on top. And the day they are, leadership is going to change for the better. That is how we will redefine leadership. Not by the way currently leadership is being defined by all these strange terminologies which go below all of these.
Yeah, that's so right. I mean, there are a lot of buzzwords revolving around, the term leadership itself. And I think we need to take, we need to take a look more into what the key aspects are, and, what we need to change and what we need to focus on. So that's wonderful. And, can you tell us a little bit about your book, Leadership by Proxy, the story of women in corporate India?
All right. So, in the prologue I have written, and this was in 2015. All right. In 2015, I decided that I'm going to write a book on leadership. And it's not about women, it's about leadership. It's about the fact that institutions don't have a book for women on leadership. From Wharton to Harvard, every single book is written by men. Does anybody listen to our voice on leadership? And so it's time to redefine it, all right? And what we need to do is to embed the new leadership style and get people to understand it. That doesn't mean they're going to accept it. That doesn't mean they're going to read the book, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to write it. I'm going to write it so that 100 years down the line, somebody will pull it out of the archives and say, okay, this is what the women were saying about leadership. And, I'm just going to read something out of this. It is almost baffling to understand how the majority of valuable, hardworking, and high-delivering women of India, who constitute 50% of the 1 billion Indian population and 8% of the total global population, have been completely relegated to the lowest levels of the workspace and sidelined in the decision-making strategies, which are defined narrowly by conservative hierarchies of linear leadership, of male-dominated networks that allow little space for the colors of diversity, individuality, and different strokes that are actually the hallmarks of creativity, innovation, and competitive excellence. It's just a small para out of my book, but now you understand what I'm saying. The hierarchies are linear. The women are at the bottom. Is anybody going to listen to the different strokes that we want to put on the decision making? No. Okay, then we'll write a book on it. No problem. Maybe somebody will hear it. But I'm baffled. So I had to write a book. When you get mystified, you write a book. What else do you do? And in that book, the different chapters deal with, it's a hybrid between a personal narrative and between new terminologies that I want to put on the table, which now everybody's talking about. So, and like I said, I did that 3 years ago, and the first one I put out was called The Fallacy of Unconscious Bias. It's a fallacy. There's no such thing. Okay. When you read the chapter, you will know why. Because when you take an action, the brain has to tell you to take it. It's conscious. When you discriminate, it's conscious. It's not unconscious. As long as you're thinking about it, I don't really care what you think. But when you put out an action, then there is a very important word. It's called accountability, and you can't get away from it. The second thing I was defining chapter was balanced leadership, which everybody tries to play around words, inclusivity. Hey, just balanced leadership. What is the meaning of balanced leadership? It means, to an economist like me, it should be non-homogeneous, which means everybody should not be like everybody else. Random samples should be picked. The minute you have a board, or the minute you have a community, or the minute you have a leadership that looks exactly like everybody else, even if it's all women, it's a problem. Even if it's all white, it's a problem. Even if it's all diverse, it's a problem. You've got to have a random sampling of everything to get innovation on the table. So I was defining balanced leadership. And the third chapter, or one of the chapters, is on the fact that companies are just grappling with this whole issue of women. Somebody's hijacking the agenda on women at home. Somebody's hijacking on multitasking. They don't get to the bottom of the point. That, can you please benchmark your company for ecosystem? Is it equal or is it not? And then leave it at that. We don't want any support for women. We just want your ecosystem to be equal. And so we've started this benchmarking, and 3 years down the line, we benchmarked almost 50 companies. It's not a race, it's not a ranking. And now everybody's doing best employers for women. And I'm saying, do you know how to benchmark? Do you know what are you benchmarking? We just want to benchmark equal opportunity. After that, I'm not on the side of women. If you didn't aspire, you didn't work hard enough, it's your problem. But right now, my problem is the lack of equal opportunity, and we have to benchmark it. So I've got words like this. I've got 2 chapters on my mentees. We have 800. I personally have 850 mentees who we've certified across leading companies. Listen to some of their voices. What do they have to say? I wanted to give voice to the pipeline of women. And finally, I think the book reminds everybody to listen and redefine leadership. All right. And, this is just the essentials. But I want to get away from the content of, management to very personal lines that I write in the book, because all the time people are talking about coaching, mentoring. I haven't the faintest clue what it is. I'm in the business of the power of self. If you don't have power of self, and that's what the book says, nobody can help you. Nobody. It's like going to the gym. If you don't do your push-ups, and the trainer does it for you, I'm so sorry, but you're not going to be fit. Same thing. The mentors and the coaches can do nothing. I suggest they call themselves as guides. The power of self is critical. You have to be your own energy. You have to be your own inspiration, or else it will not work. Nobody can motivate you. You have to see the outcome of what you want. And that's why I said purpose and higher purpose. You have to see the outcome of what you want. Then you will do the job. Till then, you're cutting and pasting somebody else. And that's why the book is called Leadership by Proxy, because it's not going to work.
Yeah. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's so, I don't know, enlightening, whatever you just said right now. That was an amazing answer. And let's move our focus a little bit to organizations of today. And do you think we have had this centricity shift of organizations from business to customer to employees? So what is your opinion on that?
Again, I'm an economist, and business should never be about employees. Now, business should always be about something which you have not mentioned and nobody seems to mention in HR. It's called wealth creation. That is why business is set up, all right? That is why Adam Smith wrote The Wealth of Nations. That is why there is an enterprise. That is why there is an entity. It has nothing to do with customers or employees at all. First, it begins with the entity. Why did you set up an entity? You're an entrepreneur, you set up an entity. Okay, what does the entity have to do? The entity has to create wealth. If it doesn't create wealth, you can define it whichever way you want, profits or stakeholder value. You got to add to value. It's got to add to GDP. It's got to add to something. The employees are the tools, the resources, the customers are the market, there is the investors. So, you've got to understand before using all these words, employees first, customers first, entity first. The entity's got to create wealth. If you don't create wealth and you don't innovate, you're off the competitive edge. What do you need to create that wealth? The entity decides. Some entities are capital intensive, some entities are employees incentive, some entities are technology incentive, and sooner we will have a lot of AI. Does that mean that you moved away from employees to AI? No, no, no. That simply means you understood what the enterprise wants and you go out and get it.
Yeah.
I don't think we should cut and paste employees first. This whole focus on HR, I actually don't get as an economist. I actually don't get it.
Okay, so moving away from that question, I mean, so do you think employee centricity is not real with organizations?
There's no such thing as being employee centric. You're not understanding the use of the word employee centric needs to be dissected.
Okay.
There are layers and I'm not saying throw it out. I'm saying there are layers and then there are layers and then there are layers. So when you say I'm employee centric or the organization is, please let me know how you dissected it. Which layer are you talking about? Are you employee centric at production? Are you employee centric at delivery? Are you employee centric at being kind to your employees? Which part of you is employee centric? And if all of you are the entire organization is employee centric, then I want to know what happens when you get AI. What's going to happen to the organization? I'm
Yeah.
just asking for questions to be answered before you get out and throw out words like that or write whole books on it. Can you just dissect which part is employee centric? Which part?
Wow. So I think you have this rational approach to it, and it's very interesting. So just out of curiosity, so if we have to increase the employees' engagement and loyalty in an organization, how can you advise organizations to do that?
There is only one way. Only one way. And everybody who's done the fundamentals of economics will know, or of business will know. There has to be a direct relation between reward and effort. Full stop. That's it. Now, if there is no direct relation between reward and effort, and if you're making all of these endless, making people work hard, and you don't compensate them with enough money, where are you going to get loyalty from? What is the
Yeah.
meaning of loyalty? Loyalty in business is a secondary term. The first term in business is called direct relation between reward and effort. Once you do that, judgmental terms like loyalty, to me, loyalty is a judgmental term. It's a subjective term. What
Yeah.
you think is loyal, I might not think is loyal. Let us use terms which are objective. Let us say, did you reward that person equal to how much work they put in? Did you reward everybody else in the same way? Good, you got it. I don't really see why judgmental terms need to be brought into it. So if you want to get loyalty, can you please give direct relation? There should be no gap in anybody. There should be no discrimination. Everybody should be equally rewarded, appreciated, and the company will do well. What has loyalty got to do with it?
Yeah. I mean, your answers are so direct. I mean, it makes a lot of sense because you have uh, it's just so easily put. So yeah, thank you for that answer. And just to kind of wrap up the interview process, if you have any last sound bites that you would like to leave our audience.
Yes, I have a few sound bites, but since this is People Hum, I'm going to begin with the sound bite that I've been telling everybody to please listen hard. That meritocracy and this whole obsession with talent can only follow equal opportunity. Okay, so the fundamental is equal opportunity.
Yeah.
On top of it, you put meritocracy, and on top of it, you put talent. But if you don't have equal opportunity and you don't have productivity, what are you going to do with talent? You can put talent on top of a bookshelf and just leave it there. And you can pay it a lot of money, but if it's not productive, I'm not getting it. Okay? So first you must have equal opportunity and you must have productivity. On top of that, you have meritocracy. Everybody keeps on telling me there are not enough women because they don't have meritocracy. And I'm saying, yeah, I get it. What about equal opportunity? Meritocracy will come when there is equal opportunity. Then I will listen to your argument on meritocracy and talent. The second thing is that I have always told everybody to please have open minds. If you have an open mind, you are bound to bring in stimulus which will be good and exciting and energizing. So keep your mind open. The question is not who is going to let me. The question is who is going to stop me?
Yeah.
That's the question I want you all to ask, which is what I ask myself. I don't ever ask myself, how will I do it? I'm thinking, okay, who's going to stop me? Can I see that face? Can I see what it looks like? Can I metaphorically see it? Okay, then let me deal with it. But I cannot look at what's going to let me because there is nothing not letting me.
Yeah.
The other sound bite I really want to leave everybody with is the power of self. You have no idea how powerful it is to have the power of self. And you can have the power of self only when you align your body, your mind, and your spirit. This is not spiritual. This is a rational alignment. You can call it spiritual, but your body has to be in sync with your mind, and your mind has to be in sync with your spirit, and the spirit is your higher purpose. Most of the people just go through life with body and mind and they forget the spirit. They forget the higher purpose. What are you here for? Can we just align all of these together? Your power of self will come. You will not hesitate to get up and speak. You will not hesitate to put forth your point of view. You will not hesitate to build your accomplishment. You are in your natural state. How come we all can't be in our natural state? It's the best state to be.
Amazing. I mean, I love how you're just radiating a lot of positivity and confidence. I mean, that is really going to help. The last answer is really going to help our audience because that was just full of confidence. I mean, what is going to stop me? That answer needs, I mean, that question, that is the question that we all have to, think about and not like, how do I do this? What is the first? It's just what is going to stop me. So that's wonderful. And thank you so much for being with us in this interview today and taking out the time and energy to be with us. I will definitely stay in touch with you and have a healthy and safe day ahead of you.
Thank you. And thank you for listening in to me. As far as I'm concerned, it's hard to find people who are listening in. So our great appreciation to People Hum.